Good evening. Thousands of rail passengers suffered hours of delays and cancellations on the first day of a 3-day strike by guards on southern trains. Commuters arriving at Brighton station this morning found there were no trains at all running to London. Here's our transport correspondent, Mike Pearce.
Passengers said it was misery beyond belief. To add to the 40% of trains cancelled by the strike, Network Rail engineering works ran late at Balcombe, meaning there were no early services from Brighton to London. Passengers took to social media to vent their anger. Some said they'd been forced to wait for hours with no sign of a train. Others said they'd taken taxis to Gatwick to make their flights.
Dreadful. I've been here since just after 6, waiting to get a train up to London. It's been absolutely terrible.
Fed up. I'm trying to go to a meeting of somebody who's paying me to do my work. So I'm fed up with them.
I need to say sorry to our passengers about the start-up of services this morning. Network Rail were undertaking essential maintenance work on the Brighton Main Line last night. Those services overran, so we didn't get access to the tracks till 7:30 this morning, which caused disruption.
Southern want drivers to close train doors, freeing up conductors to spend more time with passengers. But the RMT say that's unsafe. Southern say it ran 80 more trains today than during the last strike. On some routes, buses were hired in to help.
It's distressing, like I said, because I'm not getting any rest. I've been working 12 hours tonight. It's not good enough.
I'm quite weary of it, and I hope it will be over soon.
Southern have sent letters to guards saying if they don't agree to its changes by January, they'll be out of a job. The RMT say staff should agree to the new terms to keep their jobs, but insist the dispute and the strikes go on.
We've done everything we can to try and sort it out. They've refused to speak to us at Aircast this week. We fully understand the way the passengers are feeling, that they're angry and they're frustrated. But that anger and frustration, we don't believe is with the RMT, we believe it's with Southern and GTR.
The RMT are causing strikes today and for another 14 days that are totally unnecessary now. And the RMT should call these strikes off, and I ask the RMT to do that.
Well, the big development this evening is there will be peace talks tomorrow. Now, that follows the RMT contacting Southern to say, could the General Secretary of the RMT and Charles Horton, the Chief Executive of the company that owns Southern, get together for peace talks tomorrow? That will go ahead. The strike, the RMT say, is still on, but as things stand tonight, there is at least a new glimmer of hope. Mike Pearce, ITV News.
A 17-year-old boy and a 12-year-old girl have been killed when their car collided with a van on the A36 in Wiltshire. It happened at Steeple Langford near Salisbury. The teenage driver and child on board both died at the scene. Now, the daughter of a woman who went missing in Dorset 30 years ago today joined a campaign for a change in the law. The body of Carol Packman has never been found, but her partner was jailed for her murder. Now, her daughter wants killers who refuse to talk denied the chance of freedom. Emma Wilkinson reports.
It's been more than 30 years since Carol Packman disappeared from her home in Bournemouth, and 20 years since her husband, Russell Causley, was convicted of killing her. In all that time, their daughter Samantha has never given up hope that one day she would find out what Causley did with her mother's body.
I don't know if he's ever going to tell me. I'm hoping that maybe he will be able to, so that I could actually put her somewhere where then I would know that she was okay. And then that would be the end of it.
But an end to the nightmare still eludes Samantha.
I need to know what exactly happened, if I can. What happened to my mother in June 1985?
The search for her mother's remains was the subject of a recent ITV documentary. There were a number of revelations, but the whereabouts of Carol's body was not one of them. So today, Samantha joined other families in the capital to push for a change in the law. In the Commons, Labour MP Conor McGinn urged MPs to support the change.
Convicted killers who will still have full recourse to the appeals process and the absolute inalienable right to maintain their innocence, but convicted killers should not be eligible for parole if they don't give information about the whereabouts of their victims' remains.
A petition for Helen's Law has been signed by almost 350,000 people. It's named after Helen McCourt, who was abducted and killed in the northwest in 1988. Her family, like Samantha, think killers will be more likely to cooperate if they know any chance of freedom depends on it.
I couldn't really care less about my father. Just tell me where my mother is. What happens to you thereafter, I don't care. I just want my mother, and that's it. And then he could then go through the system. It's quite simple.
Today, MPs backed the bill, but this is only the first stage. So while Samantha and her family continue to wait for closure, this memorial tree remains the only place they can come to pay their respects. Emma Wilkinson, ITV News.
A man's been injured in Bournemouth following an attack involving clowns. The victim was grabbed by a man who was dressed up and dragged along Richmond Park Road. There have also been incidents in Christchurch, Poole and Blandford. Officers say they've received numerous calls from worried members of the public. A police car was one of 4 vehicles set on fire during an arson spree in Gosport. All of the vehicles were targeted within 3 hours. Officers appealing for households in the area with private CCTV to get in touch. The former owner of an Indian restaurant in Hamble has been fined £7,000 after an infestation of cockroaches. They were discovered during a routine inspection of the Royal Bengal on Coronation Parade. The owner admitted 8 charges. It's now under new ownership. 75 new jobs are to be created on the Isle of Wight thanks to an order of 2 new fast ferries worth £6.3 million. It's the biggest order to be placed with the Wight shipyard in East Cowes in more than 25 years. And finally tonight, Brighton's historic West Pier celebrates its 150th birthday this month, even though little of the structure actually remains. But will it ever be restored or even replaced? Andy Dickinson has our report.
The West Pier lit up in celebration this week of its 150th anniversary. Once the epitome of seaside glamour, it was first opened in October 1886 and seen as the Queen of Piers, the best of its kind, until it fell into disrepair, finally undone by 2 fires in March and May 2003. This year the promenade from which it spread sprung up the I-360, but will the pier itself ever return?
Well, the structure hasn't been maintained for decades, and really it's a tribute to the excellence of Victorian engineering that's still standing. Our engineers keep an eye on it, but it hasn't been touched for many, many, many years. And as everyone knows, it's gradually collapsing. It's managed decline, really.
The 2 fires that ravaged this once grand structure remain unexplained to this day. Even with arson suspected, the smouldering wreckage was too dangerous to investigate after the first blaze, with the mysterious Piers Burns claiming responsibility by letter but never traced. And then less than 6 weeks later, the pier caught fire once again. Yet despite its trials, it remains one of the most photographed landmarks in our region, with ambitious plans to replace it by 2026.
The difficulty would be in preserving it as it is. I like it and hope that it will stay the skeleton as it is, but I think eventually it probably will rust away to nothing. But I mean, in the short to medium term, I think it should stay, the structure, and whatever we put in as well, complement it. It really is something to behold. You know, it's a thing of beauty, and oddly, I think you could probably spend your lifetime trying to create something like that and not be able to do it. So it does show you what nature can do if left to its own means.
The sun then yet to set on this icon, slowly returning to the sea, bare, stark and romantic. Small hope that these bones will ever be resurrected, but they still have a story left to tell. Andy Dickinson, ITV News, Brighton.
Now, what does the weather have in store over the next few days? With all the details, here's Simon Parkin.
From sleet to the slopes, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Good evening, and the good news is it's not quite so nippy tonight. Bit more cloud around, hence the temperatures aren't quite as low as they have been. That said, our settled weather is going to stay with us over the next couple of days. There'll be some sunshine, bit more cloud around, risk of an odd shower here and there. But come the end of the week, a change at last. Low pressure will start to dominate, and that means as we head into the weekend, expect things to turn, well, a bit wetter and a bit windier too. But between now and then, nothing very much happening, with high pressure still very much in charge. It's another quiet night tonight. Risk of an odd shower just sneaking in. And as I say, a bit more cloud around as well. But at least that means the temperatures are up into double figures in most places. 7s and 8s in some rural spots. And so tomorrow, well, it will be a generally cloudier day. There'll still be some bright or sunny spells, particularly the further south and west you are. But a few showers just sneaking in and a noticeable breeze tomorrow. Certainly blowing at around 10-15 miles an hour inland, bit stronger along the coast. It's going to take the edge off those temperatures too. 13-14, but it's actually going to feel a couple of degrees cooler than that. And then for the outlook, similar sort of day on Thursday, all changed though by Friday.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
And that's all from us. We're back during Good Morning Britain from 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. But from me, from all of us here on the Late Team tonight, good night.